Good afternoon, members. Thank you for indulgence here. We have just a couple bills on the docket for voting list number 22, and then we have a list of bills to concur or recede. We're going to start with the concur and recede list, which starts off with House Bill 315.
Do you want council?
Is that council? We were talking about, yeah. Is he council? Oh, there you go.
House Bill move to concur with the Senate amendments? Is it?
Yeah, the explanation. Sorry, council.
Explanation of the bill or the amendments or?
Yeah, I'm reading the bill first.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, what? Okay, all right. That's fine. Senate Bill 233, which is the cross of House Bill 315, and so council will have the explanation so that members know what we're concurring on.
3, business regulation cemeteries, requirements for sale or transfer or government acquisition. The amendments add provisions from House Bill 892 and 893 to the bill.
Yeah, great. Council, can we go back to 315?
Do we vote on that?
No, we don't have to.
Explain
That's
the
what she
amendment?
said.
The amendment? Okay. The Senate amendments make technical changes and add positive rental payment history reporting to the bill.
I'll move to concur.
Second.
Yes, Delegate Turner.
Now, we're on what bill and what said what? I missed it.
We're on the list for bills to concur or recede,
I got that.
and we're on House Bill 315, and council explained the bill, and Vice Chair concurred. We don't need a vote on that. If there's discussion, that's fine. Is that good? We good? Okay.
I move to.
Next is House Bill 548.
The Senate amendments make technical changes.
Okay, great. House Bill 571.
The Senate amendment removes property in Baltimore City that belongs to a nonprofit housing corporation or is owned by a subsidiary entity from specified state and local tax exemptions. The Senate amendment adds a special section to the bill stating that the intent of the General Assembly is that the bill be construed consistent with specified court cases and regulations.
My apologies. This was
For the sake of our understanding why we chose not to.
Why I'm not, yeah.
sure. Which bill is that, Delegate Chi?
571. Oh, is that?
We concurred with
Okay,
571.
sorry, 573.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for 573, this is the one that was trying to take the fair housing rules that are currently at HUD and put them into state law. So should the HUD rules be rescinded, state law would protect fair housing. The Senate added uncodified language, including referencing a section of regulations that we expect based on Project 2025 to actually be rescinded. We think it was inadvertent. It was in there in their references of several federal regulations. And so we just need a chance to remove that reference to that point of federal regulations. So that's why and we actually expect them to agree, I think, but that's why we're moving not to concur on that one.
Delegate Adams.
This Project 2025.
Project 2025 is a Heritage Foundation's outline of proposals for the incoming administration, which outlined the vast majority of policies that we've seen.
Is the bill, does the bill have or does it not have intent? Because I think it was stricken from one version of the bill from the Senate. Where are we on that right now?
The intent language that the Senate added to the House bill is what we're not concurring with because it references a set of regulations that we expect to be gutted in the near future.
Honestly, I wasn't going to say anything until I heard that explanation. So we're removing something or adding something based on Twitter sphere, Project 25? I mean, is that like an official administration from the federal government, or is this some sort of like liberal Twitter thing that we gotta, are we passing bills because of Project 2025? Is that what we're doing? Yes. Well, I'm not running for Congress, so I'd like to, you know.
Delegate Amprey wanted to yield.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just want to bring us back. So we can talk about Project 2025. We can talk about Congress offline, but bringing this back to a legal conversation as a fellow lawyer, the goal here is to codify current federal regulation. The language that the Senate put into the bill makes it no longer the exact language of the federal government. That's currently law. So if we're going to take what's current law and make it how we apply it at the state level, we need to make sure it matches exactly what is there. Therefore, if we don't do that, then we're actually making something new that wouldn't be a fair use of the word codification or fair use of the word of, you know, we're actually just applying the federal standard to the state standard. So I know the buzzwords got you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Listen, and had whoever was presenting this bill would have presented it that way, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But I can't imagine you're suggesting that the Senate is in support of Project 2025, because that's what it sounds like you're making the argument, is that the Democrat senators are in support of Project 2025 and that the Democrats and ECM have to fix it so that we're not in support of Project 2025. Is that what I'm hearing?
Madam Chair? That's not what I said. What
Okay.
I said is that there was a reference in the Senate to a section of federal law that we expect, based on the actions of the federal government to date and people who are in decision-making roles at the federal government at this time, we expect those sections of regulation to be changed significantly.
Okay, so this bill has nothing to do with Project 2025. I just want to make sure that we're just voting on the bill on its merits and not referencing
Right now, we're
crazy
removing,
things.
we're removing the section of law that we expect for a whole host of reasons to be rescinded and changed at the federal level. We're removing the reference to that, or we're rejecting the reference to that by not concurring with that reference being put into the law.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further, Delegate Howard?
So basically what I'm hearing is that you expect this to be done based on Project 2025. That was the first explanation. So we're changing it based on a hypothetical for this administration because that's where you're bearing these expectations from.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a reference to federal regulations that is not needed for what the spirit of this bill does. So whether you think it's going to change or not, based on the administration, the people who are in decision-making roles, Project 2025 outlines any of that, it's not needed for the purpose that we pass this law. And so that's why, and it could change. I expect it to change, maybe it won't change, but it could change. And so referencing it defeats the purpose of this law, which is to take what is currently in the current protections in federal law and put them into state law.
Okay, just because it sounded like we were operating on the premise that we were doing this because of Project 2025.
We're doing what?
Changing
Not
this
concurring?
bill, not concurring based on Project 2025.
We're not concurring based on an expectation that.
Born out of Project 2025. I
and
mean,
a
that
whole
was your,
host of-
that was your expectation, so I don't have anything else to go on other than what you said
And a whole
previously.
host of other reasons that we
Okay,
expect that it's going to
okay.
change, yes.
Okay, like, what are those other reasons?
Just consistent with what the federal government has done to every other sort of fair housing, equity-based policy over the last year and a half.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you. We have one last concurrent receipt on the list that just got added through council. It's House Bill 895.
Move to concur.
So the,
sorry.
and I apologize, this was inadvertently left off the list. This is the dynamic pricing bill that we
Oh, yeah, we can't leave.
heard the other day. The Senate amendments expand the list of exemptions. It alters definitions, alters a certain prohibition, and specifically limits the private, it specifically says they can't have a private right of action now.
Is there any discussion on this concurrence? No. Seeing none?
Just go.
Seeing none. Okay, now we can move on to our list.
We do 12? We didn't do this.
1259? I thought we did.
No, I didn't do that. 1259?
Okay.
We didn't do that.
I had mine crossed off, but I think we have one more House Bill 1259. Oh, yes, Council.
The Senate amendment adds a restriction on the co-location of childcare homes.
That was House Bill 1259, members. That's the end of our concurrence and recede list. We'll move to our original voting list. We'll start with Senate Bill 249.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 249, tobacco products licenses, additional licensure for electronic smoking devices, requires any person with a cigarette business license or other tobacco products license that is seeking to manufacture, distribute, or sell electronic smoking devices also obtain a license to manufacture, distribute, or sell electronic smoking devices.
Senate Bill 249 has been properly motion favorable. And a second, any discussion? Seeing none. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Turner? Yes. Delegate Fennell? Yes. Delegate Pruski? Delegate Howard? Delegate Johnson? Delegate Boifo? Delegate Bandari?
Yes.
Delegate Rogers?
Yes.
Delegate Chi?
Yes.
Delegate Aaron's? No. Delegate Queen? Oh, Delegate Queen's excused. Delegate Amprey?
Yes.
Delegate Adams? No. Delegate Pippi? I'm sorry. Okay, I thought I. Yes. Delegate Crosby's excused. Delegate Rose is excused. Delegate Wyville? Oh, Delegate Roberts? Senate Bill 249 passes 13.
Madam Chair, I'd like to hold Senate Bill 594.
Okay, Senate Bill 594 is being held. Senate Bill 811.
A little sponsor problem here. No, joking. As amended, Senate Bill 811 requires a developer, builder, broker, or real estate agent to enter the final sale price of a new home into an accessible database. There was a very couple of amendments. One is very technical. Number two, limits the reporting requirement to an accessible database and delays the effective date to July 1st, 2027 as to move the amendments.
I move the amendments.
There's been a motion and second on the amendments. I just want to make a clarifying. On the technical amendment, could you just explain to the membership what that technical amendment was? It was with the labeling of the system.
Yeah, so previously, the original bill was to enter the final sale price in the multiple listing service, but, there's only one company that does that, so we wanted to make sure that it was fair to add it to other possible databases that would be created in the future. So accessible database allows, this is a more general term, so that if other databases that allow you to publish pricing are available, that would also apply for this bill to make it so you have to put it there.
Thank you. Delegate Aaron?
Just a couple clarified questions. The multiple list company, is that MLS?
So they're struck from the bill now. So MLS is not the.
Okay, but
you can use MLS. That is a option you have.
Okay.
But it's not. You previously, the way the bill is written, you had to exclusively use MLS.
Okay.
With this, the way it's written now, MLS is an option to place it. But as other options become available to where we list those kind of sale prices, you can use other databases.
Okay, why wouldn't we use the SDAT?
That's
public.
that's
That's public. Why are we putting a bill in? Because that is a public list that everybody can access today.
That would be an accessible database.
We wouldn't need to bill then, because it's done by law. We have to do that. By law, when you sell a home and you record that deed, it gets posted on the SDAT, on your property tax. It tells you the last buyer. So I'm questioning the need for the bill if it's already being done by the state. And that's, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but the SDAT is what we use as a mechanism. When I go in to list a home, I get on the SDAT and find out what it sold for before. And it becomes a little bit of an issue sometimes because somebody will see you stole a house or you bought a house for a cheap rate and you're asking now 500 grand more. I'm just asking, why do we need a bill if it's already being done?
If I'm,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was going to defer to council.
Yes, I was about to do the same thing.
Because, and I just want to I also want to just reiterate, like, during the bill hearing, this, and not just because it was a Black Caucus priority, but Delegate Taylor, which is the cross file, she had extensive testimony on why this legislation was needed. So with that, I would like council to just clarify and answer, if possible, Delegate Aarons's question.
And sorry, what's the question? Because I'm just trying to make sure I give you the quickest.
The question was, why do we need this bill if it's already being done by the state via the SDAT? It's already being done. But we're putting a bill in now, legislation that we're going to have somebody have to pay for this, by the way, to put this somewhere. If you're not a member of MLS, if MLS, I pay to be on the multiple list. If somebody sells a home, somebody that's not on that, not all homes are sold through the MLS. So you're saying now that I'm going to have to pay somehow to get that done when it's already being paid by my tax dollars to be done on the SDAT.
Okay, thank you. I believe appraisers cannot use SDAT for appraisal value.
Well, it's the same price, though. We're putting the same information on it as you're going to require me to put on the MLS. I'm going to put my sales price of that house on there, and it's the same price that's going to be recorded with the deed, and it's going to be on the SDAT.
Yeah, I believe for comps, appraisers are prohibited by law from using
No.
SDAT.
It can't be prohibited by law to use a public database.
Okay, I'm not, that was my understanding that law prohibits appraisers from using SDAT for comps to determine an appraisal value.
Okay. I just find that hard to believe because if you think about it, and I'm not being smart when I say this, if you key that price in, you sell your home to me, that deed and everything is recorded on the SDAT, and you can look up the previous owner and the sales price of that home with all, and that's the final sales price of the home. That's on the SDAT today, and that is the same price that you're asking, the bill's asking me to put on the MLS, isn't it?
I think MLS is one option as amended. I think there's other options too, like Zillow or other aggregating websites.
Excuse me, that's not my question though. It's on the SDAT. It's a state database that's funded by the state and taxpayers today. That is the same amount. I think we have a guy back here that might be able to answer some of that. It is the same dollar amount, I would assume, in every case. And
So before I call on each person, so you made a good point, Delegate Aarons. Bill, would you be able to clarify or provide information? Could you come forward?
I'm sorry.
It's nice outside, Steve. We could be out there.
What's that?
Nothing. I'm messing with you.
I think some of the questions were the timeliness of the information on the SDAT site, but you would effectively put information on the SDAT site that would reflect not just sales price, but also the assessed values of those properties. So if it had sold recently, it would be more reflective of the sales price.
But we're only interested in this bill with the sales price, as I understand it.
Right.
So the other stuff doesn't matter. The goal of the bill is to put the sales price on the public database. That is a public database. We're already doing it. I'm just questioning, as I went through this, and I'd say why, and we had, I think, MLS, we talk about that, but that MLS cost me money. It's going to cost whoever sells a home money, am I correct?
Correct. If you're using the MLS will have, prices that would be prior to sale too. So you'd be able to compare what hasn't actually sold yet too.
That's not what the bill's doing. The bill is asking just for the sales price.
Yeah.
So regardless of what's on the SDAT and the MLS for that matter, it's just asking for the sales price. And that's what builders are expecting, or new home builders are looking for, is that sales price need to be reflected.
Yeah.
I guess I think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we're having to put legislation in to address a fair question. Not a fair question, but
Right.
something that's already being done.
Right.
And it's public and it's free. Not free, but it's free.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way the amendment is drafted, it certainly gives folks the option to look at that as one of the accessible database.
And I fully understand
Yeah,
that, but you're not getting maybe I'm not conveying it right. It's already there, it's paid for, it's being done, and it's being done by the state, so we expect it to be done accurately and properly, so we should rest assured that's it. The other way is causing people to pay for that. And now, even with an appraiser, he's going to have to pay for some system, and perhaps they do that today. But when we're putting legislation in to say it's for everybody, meaning if you or somebody that's not going through the MLS or not using a service, the best available situation is going to be SDAT. I just don't, I'm questioning the need for the bill at this point, just because as I thought through it, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me why we were doing it. Isn't that so?
I'm going to go in the order of the request to speak. So Vice Chair Delegate Howard, then Delegate Pippy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that I just want to highlight two things. One is there were reasons that were presented by the sponsor that I was trying to find my notes on as to why SDAT doesn't currently work. And there's been conversations that people who have been advocating for this have been having with SDAT to see if they could make it work. And I apologize, I'll keep trying to get the answer of exactly why. But they did speak to that and say that it doesn't work. However, in the House earlier this year, the chair put in to the Joint Chairman's report a request to SDAT to ask them to come back to us with an analysis of what it would take to accomplish the purposes of this goal. So what would it take for them to actually be the holders of the public database that would meet the goals of this bill, which for whatever reason their current system doesn't, in the hope that over time there would be another option that would be a state-based option in addition to the private MLS one. So it has been articulated, although I'm not able to articulate why the current system doesn't work, and it has been requested based on the chair's addition to the Joint Chairman's report that by next year we would have that. And the technical amendment that changed the date on this to July of 2027 gives SDAT time to develop that, so there would be another choice.
I'm sorry, can I respond? I understand what you're saying, but I guess I look at this, when I sell a home or list a home, I go to SDAT. That's where I get my prices. That's where I could go to first. I look at MLS because that's what I'm on, and I have the ability to do that. But I don't recall ever seeing a home sold that price isn't on the database already, okay? And I guess I could think of some reasons why this might be different, but the fact that we already have that, and I'd be really interested to see what SDAT says about that. And I hope it's not, it's because it might take me a couple days to put it in the system. That may be one of the reasons, which we're already doing it. We're using taxpayers' dollars to do it, and we're going to put a bill in here and a process in that's going to cost people money, and I don't know how much money, depending on who you are. But I don't think we should be using the inability SStat to update quickly as a reason for a bill.
Melvin Howard? Oh, I'm sorry, were you responding to this?
Just that, okay, that's not, I'll go after.
They'll get Howard.
So I heard legal say that they can't use SStat. So people can't use SStat as a, I guess, or mortgage companies can't use it for comps or final sale. Is that correct?
That's right. My understanding is that appraisers cannot use the SStat sales information for the basis for when they're creating comps. The basis, like some quick background, if it's helpful for the bill, is if like a lot of new homes are sold in a neighborhood, those are a lot of properties that they can't be comp.
That's not what the bill speaks to, right? It speaks to final sale price.
Of new homes.
Of new homes, so it speaks to, so it doesn't speak to comps. And is there anything in the law prohibiting companies or MLL or anybody like MLS, sorry, which is the major one that keeps, I don't think we're trying to pick on them, but they're the major provider of this information, from going to SStat and getting that information? And then the realtor using the MLS data, which has been garnered by SStat anyway.
And
which still doesn't speak to really what we're talking about in the bill, but.
Yeah, I followed you. That makes sense. I think MLS is, and I guess that's possible. I think my understanding is predominantly, though, that the industry is using MLS. It's you know, like the home builder, the realtor, they're the ones doing the MLS
I don't think there's
data.
any question that the majority of the industry is using MLS. I'm just asking would it preclude MLS from going to SStat and garnering information off a free state website subsidized by taxpayers, right? And then in exchange, realtors, based on what your understanding of the law currently is, even though the bill isn't speaking to this, and I'm sorry, this is all in the round, realtors would be able to access information and pay to access information, which they already pay for through tax money, through MLS, but MLS basically got a third, 2/3, or all of it from SStat.
Valid. I think in the way the bill's contemplating this working in practice is new home sale, it's getting reported, just like a nice orderly flow of information within that time period. I think there could be some delays with the information SStat is getting and when that's getting posted. So I think it's generally set up to function like rather smoothly and avoid issues like that, but.
Do we have any idea of what that delay time frame is?
It's 30 days within 30 days of a new home sale.
Okay.
It has to get reported.
What's the average time a new home is on the market?
I feel like that could vary widely. I'm not sure.
Right, but I'm sure there's a state average.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to clarify a couple things. One, the appraisers submitted a letter of support to the bill. So I think the argument that you can't use it in the process of appraising may not be accurate when the National Appraising Institute submitted a letter of support saying this was a helpful tool for them to do their job. Point one. Point two, it seems like.
They're supporting the bill.
That's what I just said. You're all right. All right. Let me get through it, and then you can. The second part is that I feel like this is. It seems like the sponsor's putting the bill in because SStat takes 1 to 3 months to update with sales information, and so they want a faster sales price uploaded where people can see it. I mean, I'm going out on a limb. I'm assuming based on the testimony that I just quickly read through, that the sponsor wants sales information uploaded quicker, right? And when I looked at SStat, how long it takes SStat per your questions, to reflect sales information, it takes 1 to 3 months. So I'm assuming that's why the bill's put in, is they want, when a home is sold, that there's a public database, whether it's SDAT or somebody else, to reflect what the sales price was quicker. Maybe that could be done with SDAT. It doesn't sound like they're able to get it done for whatever reason. But I just want to point out that it appears that the Appraisal Institute is in support of the bill, right? So I'm assuming that means that they do use it in their appraisal process. And so I don't know. I only wanted to bring that up because there's a lot of discussion about different things, but if the goal of the bill is just to have the appraisal information in a timely manner, then that appears to be a different discussion than the one we're having. Because the one we're having is, doesn't SDAT already do this? But they do, but they're slow. This is my only point. And I think, is that fair to say? So I don't know where I'm going with that, but just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
I think what the council said was not that the appraisers can't use MLS. He was saying they can't use SDAT as it's currently structured. That's why the appraisers support the bill, because the bill would point them to MLS. So I agree with your point. I just was trying to clarify what the council was saying about why they might. That's all.
And I would agree with, and I mentioned earlier about the timing and what have you. My biggest question then comes back to the fact that this is something that taxpayers are already paying to have done. That means when I sell a home, my expectation is I've already paid to have that done. Somebody's going to have to pay this bill. And would it be easier possibly, if that is the only reason that we have to do this, would it be easier to sit back and, I mean, this is all done electronically now. It's not all keyed in hand by hand on each day. These transactions happen because you pay your tax immediately. So the argument that we can't access and update the files is kind of ridiculous, because that money gets transferred within days, 2 days if at max. So wouldn't it be easier just to have SDAT step it up and do the job quicker, because it is all done electronically at this point? And my question came after thinking about this. We're already doing it. We have the information, and it's free today. This bill is asking me to find somebody to pay for it. That's an expense for me to do that as a realtor. I pay to have that option. Anybody else wanting to do it will have to pay for that option. And I would guess that somehow, some way, they're going to pay for that option to get it off another list. Wouldn't you agree?
Delegate Roberts?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just really going to say me too to what Aaron's just said. Thank you.
I mean, Delegate Pepe and I are, I mean, SDAT is a record of a transaction, and then it's also assessment values. And I'd have to ask what the legislative intent is of the bill, because if we're trying to take a record of a transaction, then yes, SDAT's good, but it doesn't speak to what the worth of a house is over time. Only an appraiser can do that. So if you're going back to SDAT for the purpose of trying to detect or determine what the value of a asset is, that's probably not the place to go, nor are the assessments, because the assessments are a construct of something completely unrelated to the value of the house. So that's, if you're trying to get SDAT to do something more like a valuation as opposed to a history or record of a transaction, then it goes back to why is the bill here, which I think is what Steve's asking. If the bill's here to just have a record of a transaction, he's right, you have to have that, but I don't remember the bill hearing. Maybe I wasn't here for it.
Can I move the previous question? No, I'm joking. I really wish we could. Is that an option? Can I move the previous question? No, I was going to say, the bill extends out the date to July 1st, 2027 for SDAT to be able to offer the services, because right now they're not able to do it. So what you're saying, why don't we have SDAT do it? The bill also takes that into contemplation. So like, I think I think everything we're trying to say it doesn't and does do actually does. So like SDAT will be a party that can do it, but they're not going to be able to do it until July 1st, 2027. That's why we amended it so that they can be the body that does it. So in the world, you could use SDAT or you could use MLS. That's why we expanded the language, so you don't have to use, I think you mentioned like having to pay for it privately. You can do it through SDAT, but SDAT, as we just mentioned, cannot do it that fast. But we're giving them until July 1st, 2027 to do it in an expedient way, so then that way you can do it at a lower cost or free cost. So everybody's happy. Move to previous question.
Okay. Okay, seeing no further discussion, just to reiterate, Senate Bill 811 was properly motioned favorable with amendment and seconded, and seeing no discussion. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Turner. Delegate Fennell. Delegate Pruski. Delegate Howard. Delegate Johnson. Delegate Boifo. Delegate Bandari.
Yes.
Delegate Rogers. Delegate Chi. Delegate Aaron's.
At this point, no, thank you.
Delegate Queen is excused. Delegate Ampry.
Yes.
Delegate Adams.
No.
Delegate Pippi. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. So confused. Oh my God. He did say yes.
Okay, I'm like.
Delegate Crosby's excused. Delegate Rose is excused. Delegate Wyville? No.
You sure?
Delegate Roberts? Say it however you like.
Oh, what I was gonna say, I'm gonna support the bill. But what I am gonna say also, in addition to that, is, you know, when we do have very valid points like this, it just seems like when this bill passes or other bills that pass that have things in place, and I'm just giving validity to what Delegate Aarons is saying, is because it seems like we're passing bills that don't necessarily need to be passed, but I'm hoping, because it seems like the answer is to get SDAT to do it faster.
Delegate Roberts, you're free to vote how you would like. You haven't said.
I
She
said
did not.
yes. I did.
She
I said I'm going to support the bill.
That's different from.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying, if, vote how you.
Okay.
vote.
All right. Yes,
Oh, so you do want to vote yes? Okay.
I do.
Okay. Senate Bill 811 passes 12. That concludes the voting list members. I had wished that Delegate Queen would have been here so we could recognize her. We recognize you, Delegate Queen. Thank you for your service. We're going to miss you. We love Delegate Queen, the professor. Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah, but.
Hey, members, stand by. We may have an additional voting session, but not today.